believing that I really am worthy of whatever is on my heart. I'm a huge believer that if your heart is telling you something, listen, your body talks to you, aka your soul. Like all of it is working together. And so if you tune in and if you truly learn how to trust yourself and move from that place, things will work out for you.
Hey, and a huge welcome. I'm so excited to welcome Amy Sanders in our show today. So Amy is a self-made millionaire, owns multiple successful businesses. Her passion is helping women develop self-trust, step into their power, and create lives and businesses they love. This is so beautiful. I love this. And the way I came across Amy, oh my God. I just want to share it quickly because it was crazy. She had this reel, which I saw quite a while ago, but still every time I think about it, it just blows my mind. And I would let her explain the reel and the story because I don't want to take too much time, but oh my God, that's all I want to say about Amy.
Oh, you're so funny. And thank you so much. I mean, I have, I think, the same respect for you that you have for me, which is awesome. You know, it's just like so great when we get to meet and collaborate together. And then when you hear someone talk about yourself, you're like, yeah, I sound really cool. I don't know, like, but am I that cool? I don't know. Actually, yeah, we all are. But yeah, I'm so happy to be here. So thank you for having me.
So good. So Amy, how did you start it? Like, I want you to explain the reel and your story. Like, guys, it's crazy. You really want to pay attention what she's going to tell you now. Yes.
So funny. Okay, so the reel, how things started was obviously before the reel. So I'll explain the reel and then I'll go back a little bit if that's okay. So the reel that Anna is talking about is that I don't even remember everything that was in the reel because it was a while ago, but it was a little bit of my story about how there was a time in my life where I was a single mom that was totally broke. I had 3 kids under the age of 8. So 4 years old to 8 years old. And I could not afford to take them to McDonald's. And they were screaming at me and they just really wanted to go. And I felt like the worst. I mean, I literally felt like I was the biggest failure ever. Here I had divorced their dad. I can't even afford to pay rent. I would make deals with my landlord for rent. And I remember looking at my bank account thinking, okay, literally have $5. How am I going to take them to McDonald's? But they haven't been to McDonald's in forever and they're little kids and I want them to be able to play in the playground and do all the things. And so I took them there, but they didn't get the Happy Meal. I think I let them each get one thing that was $1 because then my bank account went to go over. And what's funny is that picture of them at McDonald's. It's like, I remember taking that picture. And I posted it online years ago, like back then, like all the way back then, I posted that we had been at McDonald's. And what people see is these really happy kids climbing on like Ronald McDonald. That's what they see. And the kids are just, super happy. And what they don't see is the mom behind the camera, me, taking the picture with all of the emotions that come with it. The worry that I actually spent $3 more, the fact that I feel like I'm failing my kids, the fact that I don't know how I'm going to live next week. Like all of those things were very, very real. And so when I see the picture, my emotions, that's what I feel when I see that picture. But when other people see the picture, like years ago when I posted it, before I reposted it in this reel, it's all the comments. Oh, such cute kids. You're such a great mom. It's like all of the things that, you get these praises, but inside you're feeling like, I'm failing. I'm not doing anything right. This isn't the life that I thought I was going to live. Like, who am I? Like, what is actually happening? This is not anything that I ever imagined would happen to me. And so that was the reel, but it went on to then show what my life looks like now. And now I live in this multi-million-dollar home. I live in a multi-million-dollar neighborhood. I actually live in the richest city in my state in the US. So if you look up my state and you say which city has the highest income, I live there. And I don't say that to boast, and I hope that you don't take it that way. I say that because I look back at where I was, and even before the single mom situation, and where I am now. And it's not because I am remarried, but it's not because I married a guy and he swept me off my feet, threw me on his white stallion horse, and away we went. He took care of me forever. You know, that's not what the story was. It was very different than that. But together, him and I built this incredible lifestyle that people usually just dream about. And that's where my passion comes in, is that I love to show anyone, but especially women, that whatever is on your heart, you can build it. You can have it. And it doesn't matter what your background is. I mean, I have like a really crappy background and a really like rough childhood, which maybe we need to talk about that because that's interesting. But all of these things, it's like you do and can create a different life for you. And I like am so passionate about that. Like, you absolutely can, and you have everything inside you to do it. You just have to then help uncover those beliefs that are going to help you move towards those goals. So that was a long-winded explanation of the reel and a little bit about my story. But yeah.
So I think whenever somebody like would hear your story, the first question would be how? Like, and I know being an identity coach, I would ask you, who did you become? But let's start with, how did you do that? Like, how did it happen, and what did you learn, and all those like.
I learned. I mean, the biggest how really was I actually started listening to me. And in order to explain that, I do need to go even back further, because I was raised in a family that was a pretty toxic situation. Now, with that being said, my parents are the best they could. Like, literally, they came from horrific backgrounds, horrific. And so, like, when you look at like things that you only imagine happen in movies were happening to both my parents, living in different places. Then they met each other. And I know you do a lot with energy. And so I think they were vibing at this level, this certain level. They attract each other. They never took care of any of their stuff. And now they had a ton of kids. They had 7 kids. And they probably should never have had any kids. But now they're raising us in this situation. And it's not really healthy, you know? So I was taught from a very, very young age that my voice does not matter. I was taught that, men are very superior and women are inferior. I did not have a voice. I was taught to say yes, no matter what. So it didn't matter how I felt inside. It didn't matter if I wanted to. I was taught that I will get in trouble unless I do what I'm told. And what that did was create like the world's best or worst, depending on how you look at it, people pleaser, to where I would just agree. I never even questioned what I actually wanted. And I really was so far away from myself that I end up in this unhealthy marriage. Of course I did. Of course I did, because this is what I knew. And when my ex-husband got on his knee, he proposed after 3 weeks of dating. And I said yes, because I did not want him to feel bad. Like, what in the world? What is actually happening? So I'm like, okay, that's how, and I like to say that's how far away I was from myself. Because when I said yes, it wasn't like, oh yeah, I gotta get married. And he was tall, he was handsome, he was, like checked some boxes. But my insides were in complete turmoil. My heart was pounding, not because of excitement, because of total fear. My stomach was in knots. I had chills all over my body. And my whole body, everything was reacting, saying, biggest decision of your life, Amy, don't do it. Don't do it. But what do I say? This is what I said. So what did you ask my dad? Oh, what did he say? And he's like, he said yes. And I'm like, oh, okay, then sure. That was the engagement.
Oh my God.
That's the engagement. And I like to tell that story because it was from there that my life got even worse. Next thing you know, like I'm struggling with money with him and things keep getting worse. And now we're having kids. And now with the religion I was brought up in, you do not ever divorce. Like, this is your decision, no matter what. It doesn't matter how you're treated. It's just like a lot of stuff. And so I had come so far away from myself, but I knew from a young kid, like I was like, I wanted, as a young kid, I thought I was truly a princess. I thought that I had magical powers. And so that I was supposed to live in some castle, Anyway, but I was like, there's still that dream alive inside of me. Like, it was still in there. And as my husband would treat me a certain way, And I also, at the time, I taught fitness classes, which I think was like a really big blessing, because I would look at all these people in my fitness class that thought I was really great and I was helping them and I was motivating them, and I'd come home to something totally different. And so I think that like that was kind of the contrast of like how they treated me versus how I was treated at home was so different that helped. But really, I finally came to the conclusion, like, okay, this, you know that this isn't what you want, but you're not doing anything about it. No one's going to make a change. Like, you're the only one that can make a change for you. And to be totally honest, the reason why I finally went through with it, of leaving him and starting to choose myself, was because I didn't want my 3 kids to think that that's normal. Like, I was like, I know that this is not okay. And I do not want 2 of my boys, I have a daughter and I have 2 boys. I did not want them to think that it's okay, because I knew it wasn't okay. You know, it's like you start to accept certain things, but there's certain things you know is not okay. So from there, I finally left. And when I left, things got worse, which is the McDonald's story. You know, it's like, oh crap, I'm even more broke. How did that happen? But so from there, the how is all about internal, which I know you talk a lot about. It's like believing that I really am worthy of whatever is on my heart. I'm a huge believer that if your heart is telling you something, listen, your body talks to you, AKA your soul. Like, all of it is working together. And so if you tune in and if you truly learn how to trust yourself and move from that place, things will work out for you. Of course, with my story, I had to show up. I mean, I had to, and manifesting was a huge part of even this house that we live in now. Like, I found it when I was 2 weeks into dating my husband. We found this house. It looked amazing. I was taking pictures of it. We were walking along the fence line. We're doing all the things. And we put it in a book. We put it in this marriage book of ours. It was our like an engagement book of everything that happened while we were engaged. And that house was in there. And, you know, a couple years later, like, things keep happening. And I think we built this house, multi-million-dollar home, met each other totally broke. And it was, I think, 2.5 years after we had met that we were actually living in a house identical to that one in the book. We built it. So we customized it to what we wanted. But I was like, whoa, how did that happen? I was completely broke. I couldn't afford to put my kids in like extracurricular activities. We couldn't go to McDonald's, like all these things. And now I'm living in this massive house. Like, what, you know? So things can happen fast, but it's like, did we have to do the work? Sure. Did I have to show up? Sure. Did we look at making good business decisions? Sure. So part of the way, as far as like, you know, how we actually made the money too, is it was a combination. I'm a huge believer in multiple streams of income. And so I looked at different ways that I could do that. And it started small. By the way, you can interrupt me whenever. I just keep talking, but you can interrupt me. But
this is really, yeah.
Okay. Like, just know you can pause. But so at the beginning, I wanted to create a dance fitness studio. And so I built it underneath my house. And so I had dance kids come in, and I was been in fitness forever. And then I had fitness people come in. And so that's where, you know, that multiple stream is that part of that income came from. We just started running that out of our house. We still have it today. Now, when I say it's out of our house, I mean, it's built underneath and it's big. So it's like, I don't have to really travel to go to work. Now I just have, and then you get smart about it. So I have other people that run the whole thing now. I don't have to do much with it at all. But that was one thing that we did. We put an apartment on another part of our house because it is pretty big. That brought in a little bit of extra money. So at the beginning, it was kind of small things, right? But then we started investing into companies. My dad, or the company that my husband was working at, we had an opportunity to invest. And I was like, yes. It's like, do we dare do this? I said, yes. So we do it. And then that worked out. But then also I was like, I put timelines on things sometimes. I don't know. I'm interested to see if you do this too. But so with manifesting, sometimes there's no timeline, but other times I do put a timeline on it. And so I had decided I wanted like a really beautiful pool in our backyard. Of course, I decided this after we already put in our yard. And so we'd already put all this money into our yard. And I'm like, actually, our kids are the most perfect age for a pool. I would love what it would do for our family. I would love the like connections it can bring with the neighborhood. And it was in January, and I was like, how am I going to sell my husband on this putting in a pool. It's like a $250,000 project. It's like, how are we going to do this? And financially, again, it didn't make sense at the time in January. By February, I had been bringing up the idea. So I'd been manifesting it on my own and imagining the pool and all the things and what it would do for our family and the friends and the extended family. And by, I think it was mid-February, I'd like got him to kind of start having the idea about this, but I'm like, I think we can have it installed by the end of the year. He's like, what? Like, I think we can. I think we can do
So just how do you do that? Like, this is really interesting for the viewers and also for me.
Yeah.
How do you put the deadlines, like the timelines, and then how do you get yourself to believe? Because this is one thing I think a lot of people struggle with is, will I do it within this time frame? Like, they're constantly wondering. And sometimes I believe that is actually causing more problem, because instead of focusing on believing, you're focusing on believing in the fact that, will it happen? Will it happen? Will it happen by this date? You know?
Because then you're more stressed about it and that energy is not going to be aligned, right? With him, I needed him to be on board.
Yeah.
I needed him to be on board. And this is what, okay, I'm going to tell you the real story of everything that went down, because it's pretty crazy. So I needed him to be on board, but money, it didn't make sense financially. Like, we had just built this big house, but we were doing so much better than we were 2.5 years earlier, right? We're like, wow. So things were really rolling. Things were starting to happen for us that way. But now I just like threw this massive project on us. What in the world? But he was like, do you really think we can make this happen? And I go, we have a ton of equity in our home. Like, we have tons of equity in our home. And our payment was like really, really low. And he's like, okay. So I'm like, just trust me. Just like, let's just see what we can do. So I think even with manifesting, you have to be open to the possibility that you can figure it out. Like, things can figure out. And so what happened was, right after, so we went forward with the project, we got approved, for an equity line. So it's not like all the cash came right then, but then what happened, so now we had this equity line. So we put in the pool. This was 2019, okay? It's 2019, we put in the pool. What happens in 2020? The world ends, basically, right? So our pool project actually was completed in August 2019.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So your timeline was important. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened for so long.
It wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened. But so it didn't get put in by the end of the year. It got put in on August 2019. Now that, which was awesome, because the next year could do anything. And now we had an amazing pool we could hang out in and play in and all the things. But what also happened that same year is, here in America, I don't know what happened everywhere else, but here in America, interest rates dropped dramatically, like into the 2%. And so, and we were like playing with, like, do we pay our house up? What do we do? Anyway, so now interest rate just dropped. So once we, of course, like almost everyone jumped on that and refinanced. So as soon as we refinanced the entire pool project, our payment was actually lower than it ever was before. And then in 2020, keep going, what?
Oh my God. So I have a question here, because this is really important for us. So how did you believe that it will happen within a year? Like, how did you get energetically behind? Like, is it the desire that led you to do that? Or is it more like you just knew, or you have been doing this? Like, what is that thing that led you to be okay with that date and not freak out?
Yeah, and just to be clear, I don't do dates with everything, but certain things I do, which this one was. I just trusted that. I looked at, it was more like I looked at where our family was, the ages that our kids were, which now, by the way, we have 7. So I had 3 before I married him. Now we have 7. Lots of kids, lots of friends over all the time. Perfect time to have a pool. And I just felt like, no, this has to happen now. Like, if we don't do it now, when are we going to do it? We got to do it. And so then I just trusted that it would work out. And I took the next step, like, okay, so if I think that this can happen, what's next? Well, I need to know how much it actually costs. I need to meet with some builders. I need to see if there's even availability. And so I started doing that in March. And next thing you know, in June, they're digging for a pool.
So you were on the frequency, because when you are doing like the talking to the builders and all those things, you're already operating from the place that it's already here, right? Because you're taking aligned action. So when people say aligned action, it's about just jumping in the pool. It's like, jump in, then the pool will come, right? It's so good. So I have a question, like, how did you, when you were at the rock bottom, right? So when you didn't even have money for McDonald's, let's go back to that reel for once,
Yeah.
maybe one last time at least. So how did you find the strength and the courage? Like let's say you literally have $5 and you spend $3 out of $5, like you have $2 left. How did you, like, because that could have taken you in the vicious cycle of negativity and you could have gone the other direction. How did you get from $2 to multi-millions? Like,
Yeah.
what was that pain?
Yeah, really, it was because I did feel like I was out of alignment. I felt like this is not who I am. And I believed that. Like, this is my circumstance. And also, I chose it. I chose to marry him. There was some conditioning that led to the choosing him, but I did choose this. Like, so how am I going to get out of it? And there was a lot of things in our marriage that happened where, like, he would sabotage stuff in our life or whatever, and he also does the best he can. And we actually have a better working relationship now than we ever have. So things have come really far from that point in time. But also, like, it's like I was like looking in the mirror and being like, no, she's worth more. Like, that's not you. And so it's like I did have, even though I felt like I was in like the depths of despair, it's like, what in the heck is actually happening? I also had this combative thought of, no, that's not really who you are. You're meant for bigger things. You're meant to live big. I did not think that in 2.5 years later, I'd be in a multi-million-dollar home. I did not think that I didn't think that would be my reality. Yeah. So crazy. But that's what happened. And then even from there, like, once I got there, it was not necessarily comfortable. So also, the other thing that happened is once we moved into this home, I didn't feel like I fit in with the people in the neighborhood, because I felt like, I looked at them and they were like these like polished, super successful people. And I was like, I'm not that, but I'm like, actually, I'm here. Stop that, Amy. It's like stopping yourself saying, no, you deserved a seat at this table. You were okay to be here. Yeah. And what's crazy now is we look at our neighbors, love them, they're awesome, but I don't have that thought at all. I haven't for years, but now we've even escalated past that. It's like,
it's so good. This is so good. I love this. So it's like you rise internally, right? Like, it's your identity. Like, you keep rising and rising, and it's your own perception which can ascend anything. We create the benchmarks. We create, I'm better than this. I'm not. Like, it's all in the mind. It's all in our identity.
Yeah, it's all in the mind. And that's why I'm like, ladies, you can have whatever you want. Do it. And we make ourselves small, and we decide that X number of dollars is okay. And we decide that, that it's okay to have. Now, everything that I say right now, I say with love. I don't say it like, to like push any buttons or triggers, but it's like, if you want your husband to support you for the rest of your life and you feel really great about that, great. But if it's bothering you, you don't have to subscribe to that. You can choose to do whatever it is that you want to do. And my husband, at the beginning of our marriage, because remember, like, I married him and he doesn't know he doesn't know really what he's got. And when we did get married, I'm like, I'm a big deal. And we now joke about it. Like, he's like, yeah, you're a big deal. But because I'll come up with these ideas, and now he's like, okay. But back then, he'd be like, how in the world do you think this is going to happen? And I'm like, I don't know. Okay. But crazy thing is, so that happened in 2019. 2020, when the world is like complete disaster, one of our other investments, totally out of the blue, the company sells, and we did not invest very much money, but it sells, and we end up getting a ton of money from that investment, which then we invested in other areas. So I invested in some rental properties. We have an Airbnb. And so again, just creating multiple streams to where if something happens, like, we still have something always coming in. And then obviously my coaching business here. So yeah, it's just like all those things. It's like, I never thought I'd have these rental properties. I never thought that I have a beach property in Florida. It's an Airbnb, so we make money when we're not there. But I'm like, I never thought that I could have that. I wanted that.
You had $2. That's what you had.
I had $2.
Crazy.
I was freaking out, not being able to tell my kids no McDonald's. So it's like, it's like you can totally change your stars, and it can happen a lot faster than you think. But it is aligning yourself with that trust and aligning yourself that you might not think you know what you're worth, but inside your soul is old, your soul is wise, and your soul wants nothing more than for you to thrive and live this like incredible life and make an impact.
So how did you have this knowing that you're worth of more? Because growing up, you were told your voice is nothing, you don't matter. Then where did this knowing came from?
I think there was a part of it that was always there, but it was silenced. And then as, it was silenced because of my upbringing. But like, as I would do things throughout school, like in school, I had a lot of funny different things that happened because I did have like a strong personality. And so people would, like the principal would notice me and like compliment me. And I'd be like, oh, wow, the principal noticed me. And then my fitness classes people would really love what I had to offer and that I brought like a unique energy. And so I would like lean into that. And so I think it was like there, but it was just so dim. And so as I continually, I call it like taking my power back, taking your power back. Like as I said no to the things that didn't serve me, it's like I took back more power. And so it used to be like with my ex-husband, I look at that like I did choose all of that. I can't like say, oh, blame him for this and this and this and this, like I said yes to marry him. And then when he would do certain things, I enabled a lot of behaviors. And it was, of course, like through conditioning, but I had to make a change. If I wanted things to be different for me, I couldn't do that anymore. And so standing up, like every single time I took little bits of my power back, which started small, to be honest. Like I remember when we were separated, he didn't want anyone to know. And we did look like this little perfect family. Our kids were really cute. And from the outside looking in, everyone would think like, that they're just like perfect. And we were so far from that. But he had a family reunion every single year. And he didn't want anyone to know that things weren't going well because image is everything. And so he was like begging me, like I told him I wasn't coming to this family reunion for the first time ever. And we were separated. So I'm like, I'm not coming. But even for me to tell him I wasn't coming was so incredibly hard. But the second that he left and took the kids and went to the family reunion, I felt so liberated. I was like, oh my gosh, like I just said no. I said no to something, and it was like, so it was like, the more I chose myself, and it's not out of selfishness. It's like, I've actually been able to give a lot more from doing that, but choosing myself and actually listening, but going back to the engagement, my body knew what was best for me and I ignored it. I self-betrayed. But now it's like, when you do not self-betray and when you move from trust and you just understand, like you're living in your purpose, like things happen, as like you're an expert at this, like things can work better for you. And also you feel at peace.
And it's like, this is so powerful that you always had this knowing, this sense of like, I know I'm worthy of more. I know, like so there is this power within you which could separate you with the circumstance. You're not your circumstance. I am more than that. And this almost like let you rise even above all the things that were happening. So if there is somebody who is right now thinking, I want to have everything that I ever want, but where do I start? Like where? What would you say?
I would say start with, again, self-trust. Like look at yourself, look at your life. I am huge on dream big. You never know what can happen. Like what if you dream big and you just barely miss that, but it's still like an amazing life, like, so dream big, but believe that it can happen for you. We all have these internal beliefs and we hold on to those, but again, they're just thoughts thought over and over and over, right? And now they're beliefs. So if you can shift that and start to, again, I know you talk about identity and shifting into that person and believing that she's worth more than that and believing that it can happen for you, like, and again, faster than you think it can, like truly tap into that inner genius. Another thing that I love to talk about with my clients and on podcasts and things is like, we all have unique geniuses. We're all very different for good reason. So if we lean into the things that we're good at, we're going to be more in flow. And when we lean into those things and expose those and make them even like more potent, then we do feel that power. It's like every single time we take back more power that we've like given away or not claimed or whatever. And the more we do that, the like higher we rise and the more we're able to give. It's like the more you're able to do. Looking back at like my energy back then versus now, it's like, it's hard to even imagine that I allowed that.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
a different life before.
It's a completely different life, a completely different life. And now it's like, I look at my life now and I'm just like, I'm also so incredibly proud of my younger self that she did get the strength and she did get the courage, because there was a lot of doubt. You know, there's a lot of things that were hard, even though she's like, no, but there's got to be more. There's got to be more. You know, that search was always happening. But now I look at my kids and their lifestyle and what they're able to do and how amazing they are and the relations that we have, like everything that has transfolded because I decided to do things different. Even the relationship with my ex-husband now and who he remarried, like, because I took that step forward totally in fear. I mean, I was like, I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm going to trust that it somehow can. And that's just basically it, I guess. Like, trust that it somehow can. Like, moving forward, every single one of our lives are better. If I would have stayed with him, my kid's life would have been completely different. My life would have been completely different. My ex-husband's life would have been completely different. Like, you don't know. Yeah. You don't know what you don't know. And so it's like, just move forward with faith and trust that if you're in alignment and if you feel good about it, then just go all in and trust that it can happen for you.
Yeah, this is so good. This is like, it's so beautiful, like how you have really broken down for us. Like, because if we hear literally it's rags to riches, but when we actually like when you listen to it, it's like, it's possible. It's not something crazy in the stars. It is on this planet. It's possible.
It's possible. And it's one step at a time. And I guess that's what else I want to leave with the audience is like, yeah, so my story with the pool, it's like, I was like, we're going to make this happen. I don't know. We have all this equity. So I pulled out some equity and then we build a pool and then the economy changes and now our payment's even lower. And then we get a massive payout right after that. You know, so it's like, you look at these things, you just don't know what can happen when you just trust the process. Like, our finances got way better when I made the decision to put in the pool. You know, what happened? That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But that is what happened. And that's what I want to leave with everyone is like, just putting forth, like, you might not have any idea how things are going to go down the road, but if you just move forward with faith saying, okay, but I do know how to do this next part and I feel good about it, then trust that and then move to the next part and it will unfold.
Exactly. This is so good.
Oh, thank you.
Oh God, I love this. I love this. Thank you so much for sharing, for making this rags to riches so normal, so natural, so possible. This is so powerful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for letting me be here.
So if somebody wants to get in your world, want to experience more of your energy, what is the best way?
2 ways is probably the best. So I have an Instagram that's just Coach Amy Sanders that I'm pretty active on. And then again, my website's the same, amysanders.co. And if you go there, right, like a pop-up that comes right up when you go to that website is just like a freebie that's like a money magnet freebie of like some of the stuff that I did from behind the scenes, you know, just like the mental stuff. So you guys could grab that as well. But yeah, my website, amysanders.co, and then Coach Amy Sanders on Instagram.
Perfect. And we'd have that in the notes as well. So you can watch that. Perfect. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thanks again.
Thank you.